Imagine this. You text a woman you like, and all you get back is one-word replies. You ask her to hang out, and suddenly, she's too busy. She laughs at your jokes, but only the way she laughs with a coworker or a random friend. No spark, no sign she sees you as anything more than background noise. And here's the kicker. The more effort you put in, the colder she gets. You try being extra nice. You reply instantly. You offer to help with things. You make yourself available anytime. And instead of warming up, she seems to lose interest faster. It's frustrating. It's humiliating. And if you're honest with yourself, it hurts. Most men in this situation double down. They think, if I just show her how good of a guy I am, she'll come around. But that's the exact trap. The harder you chase, the less she sees you as someone worth chasing. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Women don't miss what's always there. They miss what disappears. They value what feels rare. And right now, your attention is overflowing, so it feels worthless to her. But here's the twist. You don't need to play games. You don't need to become someone you're not. What you need is to flip the script, to stop feeding the cycle of indifference and start using psychology to make her feel your absence. In this video, I'm going to show you why stepping back can be more powerful than trying harder, and how to turn "I don't notice him" into "Why can't I stop thinking about him?" Here's the brutal truth. Almost everything you've been taught about getting a woman's attention is wrong. Not just a little off, completely backward. And the harder you try to fix it, the faster you push her away. Most men think persistence is the answer. Movies, music, and even your friends will tell you, don't give up. Keep showing her you care, and one day, she'll see your value. But here's the twist. It's not persistence that builds attraction. It's scarcity. The more you give without being wanted, the less she feels your presence. Think about it. You text her more, and her replies get shorter. You offer to hang out, and she's suddenly too busy. You shower her with compliments, and she reacts like you don't even exist. It feels unfair. You're working harder, but she's pulling further away. Why? Because every extra ounce of effort confirms her first impression. You're not someone to chase. You're someone chasing her. Look at her world for a second. She's swimming in male attention. Social media likes, dating app matches, random DMs, co-workers saying, "You look nice today." It's endless. Her brain is bombarded with dopamine hits from constant validation. And when something shows up too often, the brain applies what psychologists call scarcity bias. Abundant things feel cheap. Rare things feel valuable. That's why indifference isn't rejection, it's filtration. Her mind is just sorting you into the too common pile, not because you're unworthy, but because you look like every other guy trying the same tired strategies. To her, you're not unique. You're noise. Here's the twist most men never see. It's not about giving more. It's about breaking the pattern. Human brains are wired for contrast. We notice the commercial that breaks the silence, not the 100 that play the same jingle. We crave novelty, not routine. And when you act like every other man, you vanish into the background. That's why the guy who barely acknowledges her often seems more interesting than the one writing her novels in the DMs. It's not that she enjoys rejection. It's that her brain wakes up when something feels scarce. Scarcity equals curiosity. Curiosity equals value. So here's your first lesson. Your attention, your energy, your time, they've been abundant in her world, overflowing. And when something is everywhere, it feels worthless. You don't need to work harder. You don't need to explain yourself more. You need to flip the script. You need to pull back and create scarcity where there used to be abundance. And here's the loop closing back to your pain. Remember that crushing feeling when she ignored your text? That sting wasn't just her silence. It was your brain feeling scarcity. If it hurts when you feel it, imagine the impact when she feels it. That's the brutal truth. Attraction isn't built by chasing harder. It's built by making her notice your absence. And that's exactly where we go. So if trying harder only buries you deeper, what's the first real move? You disappear. Not with drama, not with excuses, not with a "we need to talk" text. You simply vanish, calmly and completely. This is what psychologists call a pattern interrupt. And here's the twist. It's not her attention you need to gain. It's her brain you need to disrupt. Think about background noise, the ticking of a clock, the hum of a fan. At first you notice it, then your brain tunes it out. But when the sound suddenly stops, your attention snaps back instantly. That silence feels louder than the noise ever did. Your presence works the same way. When you're always there, texting, liking, commenting, she tunes you out. You become predictable. But the moment you vanish, her brain flags the gap. Something changed. Why? At first, she won't care. She might even feel relieved. But give it time. Days pass. A week passes. And then the void sets in. The guy who was always orbiting around her has disappeared. And human brains hate gaps. Neuroscientists call this the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished patterns demand attention. She starts asking herself questions. Did I do something wrong? Is he talking to someone else? Was he never that interested? These thoughts don't fade. They echo. Curiosity turns into low-level discomfort, and discomfort creates pressure. Here's the part most men miss. This isn't about making her miss your messages. It's about making her notice the silence. Attraction begins not with pleasure, but with the irritation of absence. That irritation pulls her focus back to you. But let me warn you, most men ruin this step. They say they're pulling back, but they still peek at her stories. They still drop the occasional like. They still send a random, "Hey." That's not disappearing. That's lingering. And lingering kills the effect. For the pattern interrupt to work, it has to be clean. No contact, no likes, no comments, no digital fingerprints. You don't announce it. You don't explain it. You just stop showing up. To her, it feels like you vanished into thin air. And here's the twist that stings. Even if she didn't want you, losing you still hurts. Research shows social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain, which means even indifference turns into discomfort when you walk away. Picture this. She posts a new selfie. Expecting your like, nothing. She uploads a story, looking for your name in the viewers. Silence. She sends a casual, "What's up?" expecting your quick reply. Hours pass. That emptiness? That's when she feels the shift. Slowly, the dynamic changes. You're no longer background noise. You're no longer the guy chasing her shadow. You're the unanswered question in her mind. And unanswered questions don't fade. They multiply. So here's the close. Remember how you felt when she ignored your texts? That sting wasn't rejection. It was your brain reacting to absence. Now, flip the script. When you disappear, you're giving her the exact same experience. That's the real power of the pattern interrupt. Not proving your value by being louder, but forcing her to feel the silence when you're gone. Once the silence sets in, the next step is to rebuild your value in her eyes. And one of the most powerful forces you can use is something built into human psychology: social proof. Here's the twist. It's not what you say about yourself that shifts her view. It's what she sees others reflecting back to you. Think about it. Why do we trust a restaurant with a long line? Why do we pick the product with thousands of 5-star reviews? Because other people's approval shortcuts our brain's decision-making. If many people want it, it must be valuable. The same happens in attraction. When a woman sees that others enjoy your presence, especially other women, her brain automatically recalculates. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I overlooked something. What do they see in him that I missed? That single doubt can spark a chain reaction. But here's where most men ruin it. They fake it. They stage photos with random girls. They force moments just to look desirable. And women can smell that desperation a mile away. Forced social proof doesn't make you attractive. It makes you look pathetic. Real social proof is different. It comes from living a full, connected life. Imagine you're out at a group dinner, laughing with friends, some of them women. You're not flaunting, it's just natural. Or maybe you're at a work event, mingling with colleagues, posting a quick snapshot of the night. Or maybe you're on a trip, in photos surrounded by energy, activity, life. When she sees those moments, her brain does two things at once. Curiosity. Who are these women? Why do they like being around him? Did I misjudge him? Mild jealousy. Wait, did I lose my spot? And jealousy is powerful. It's not about making her suffer. It's about reminding her that your attention is not unlimited, that others see value where she ignored it. Psychologists call this social comparison bias. We evaluate things not on absolute value, but on relative demand. When she sees that others want you, her brain automatically assigns you more value. Scarcity meets competition. That's a cocktail no mind can ignore. But here's the warning. It has to feel effortless. The more you try to prove your value, the less valuable you look. The goal isn't to post women on your arm. The goal is to document a life so full that women happen to be part of it. That authenticity is what stings her. Picture her scrolling. She sees your story, not directed at her, not begging for attention, but surrounded by laughter, energy, and people who clearly value your presence. She feels that twist in her stomach. Not because you said anything to her, but because silence plus social proof creates a storm in her mind. And here's the loop. Remember when she used to ignore your texts because she thought your attention was free? Now she sees other people chasing the very thing she discarded. That shift forces her to reevaluate you. That's the subtle power of jealousy. Not making her angry, not playing games, but letting her feel that losing you means losing something others clearly want. If this sounds like your life right now, hit like so. I know I'm not the only one speaking the truth. Here's where the shift really begins. Once you've disappeared and shown authentic social proof, she may start reaching out. Maybe it's a short text. Maybe it's a reaction to your story. Maybe she drops a casual, "Hey stranger," just to test the waters. And this is where most men fail. They see the tiniest sign of life and rush back in. They reply instantly. They act excited. They pour out attention like nothing has changed. And in that moment, they erase all the scarcity they built. Here's the twist. She's not reaching out to reconnect. She's reaching out to test. She wants to know, do I still have him in my pocket? Is his attention still free whenever I want it? And if you rush back, you confirm the answer is yes. Game over. This is why detachment is so powerful. Instead of reacting with eagerness, you respond with calm control. Short, polite, friendly, but detached. You don't act cold or rude. You act as if she's just another person in your social circle. That's how you prove you've changed. Timing matters too. Don't reply instantly. Don't sit by your phone waiting for her message. Wait hours, sometimes even a full day. That delay communicates a truth no words can capture. My life doesn't revolve around you anymore. Psychologists call this delayed reward framing. When you withhold instant gratification, you increase perceived value. And here's another layer. Keep your responses shorter than hers. If she writes a paragraph, you reply with 2 sentences. If she sends a short emoji, you might not even need to respond. This imbalance signals control. You're not matching her effort. You're setting the tone. Think about the men women find magnetic. They're not frantic. They're not emotionally unstable. They're calm, grounded, selective. They know their value. They don't let outside attention shake their frame. That's exactly what emotional control looks like. And make no mistake, she will feel the difference. When you don't jump through hoops for her validation, she realizes your energy is no longer hers to command. That subtle shift creates respect. And respect is the soil where attraction can finally grow. Yes, it feels unnatural at first, especially if you've been overgiving for months. But here's the truth. The less you chase her approval, the more she craves yours. That's the paradox of attraction most men never learn. So here's the loop. Remember how painful it felt when she ignored your texts? That pain was your ego screaming for validation. Now flip it. When you delay, when you stay detached, when you keep calm, she feels that same craving. Detachment isn't indifference, it's control. And the man who controls his emotions controls the frame. Now let's go deeper into the real engine behind attraction. Scarcity combined with standards and self-respect. Here's the twist most men never see. Attraction isn't about giving more, it's about giving less, but with higher value. Not attention on demand, but attention that must be earned. Psychologists call this scarcity bias. When something feels rare, the brain assigns it more value. That's why a diamond is prized, while a rock on the street is ignored. Both are carbon, but one is scarce. Your attention works the same way. The problem is most men make themselves abundant. They hand out validation like candy. They accept flaking, disrespect, and half-effort in exchange for scraps of attention. They pedestalize her while lowering themselves. And what happens when you treat your attention as cheap? She believes it's cheap too. Here's the shift. Your time, your energy, your focus. These are premium. They should never be free. They should be earned by respect, consistency, and genuine interest. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. Think about the difference in mindset. The old frame is does she like me? The new frame is, do I even like her? Does she meet my standards? Does she deserve my energy? That single flip changes everything. Because suddenly, you're not the applicant chasing her approval. You're the interviewer, deciding if she qualifies for your world. And women feel this instantly. They can sense when a man has boundaries, when he's selective, when he won't bend just to keep someone around. That energy is rare, and rare is attractive. But let me be clear, you can't fake it. She'll feel if you're acting confident while secretly needy inside. True scarcity comes from a full life. a career you're building, a body you're improving, friendships and passions that keep you busy. When your schedule is naturally full, your attention becomes naturally scarce. And that scarcity is believable. Here's an example. A man with no hobbies waits all day to reply to her text. A man with standards replies when he's free, because he was at the gym, on a project, or out with friends. Which one feels more valuable? Which one makes her lean in? And this is where self-respect locks it all in. Self-respect means you don't tolerate being treated as an option. You don't lower your bar for temporary validation. You don't chase someone who doesn't meet your standards. Instead, you project. I'm a man worth chasing, and I know it. Now, loop this back. Remember when you were always available and she treated you like noise? That was abundance devaluing your worth. When you embrace scarcity, enforce your standards, and live with self-respect, the opposite happens. Suddenly, your presence feels poor. Rare feels valuable. And valuable is what she doesn't want to lose. Scarcity isn't rejection. It's respect. For yourself first. And that's the foundation every real connection is built on. So you've disappeared. You've built scarcity. You've enforced your standards. The question now is, when do you step back in? And just as important, how do you do it without throwing away all the progress you made? Here's the twist. It's not about reappearing fast. It's about reappearing transformed. Not the man she once ignored, but a new version of you she can't easily dismiss. Timing is everything. If you return after only a few days, she barely notices you were gone. If you wait months, you risk fading into irrelevance. The sweet spot? Typically 2 to 6 weeks. Shorter if you used to talk every day. Longer if your contact was already sporadic. The key is balance. Long enough for her to feel your absence, short enough that she still remembers your presence. Now let's talk about how to return. Most men do it wrong. They come back with a weak, "Hey stranger," or they apologize for going silent. Or worse, they explain why they pulled away. That erases the mystery and puts you back in the frame of chasing. Instead, your return has to deliver value. You show up with something that adds energy to her day, not drains it. Maybe it's a witty observation about something relevant. Maybe it's sharing a new experience you've had. Maybe it's something light that opens the door without begging for entry. And here's the golden rule. Show, don't tell. Don't brag about your progress. Don't announce your self-improvement. Let her feel it in your vibe. Let her see it in your confidence. Let her sense it in the way you no longer rush or over-explain. That contrast is what hooks her attention. Picture this. Before, you were always available, nervous, eager. Now, you reply with calm, measured energy. Before, you had nothing else going on. Now, your life is clearly moving forward. That contrast makes her brain do a double take. Wait, something's different. Psychologists call this the contrast effect. People notice change when it stands out against what they're used to. And if you re-emerge stronger, that contrast is undeniable. But here's the discipline part. Don't overcompensate. Don't flood her with messages. Don't slip back into old patterns just because she responds positively. Think of your return as a test. You're showing her the new you, and you're watching to see if she rises to meet your energy. And if she doesn't, you don't collapse. You stay grounded. Because this was never just about winning her. It was about transforming you. Now let's loop it back. Remember how powerless you felt when she dismissed you before? The version of you returning now isn't powerless. He's calm. He's confident. He's scarce. And that's why she won't see you the same way again. Reemerging isn't about convincing her you've changed. It's about becoming a man so clearly different that she can't help but notice. By now, you've seen the truth. Attraction doesn't come from chasing harder. It doesn't come from proving your worth with gifts, endless texts, or constant attention. It comes from transformation, from becoming the kind of man women notice, respect, and miss when he's gone. Here's the twist. The real goal isn't to make one woman miss you. The real goal is to become a man whose presence is always remembered and whose absence is always felt by anyone. Think about the men women can't forget. It's not the guy who begged for a date. It's not the guy who smothered them with compliments. It's the man who carried himself with quiet confidence. The man whose life had momentum, purpose, and direction. The man who never needed validation, but gave value simply by being himself. That's the man who lingers in her mind long after he's left. That's the man she compares others to. That's the man she regrets ignoring. And here's the deeper truth. Once you become that man, you stop fearing indifference. You stop asking, does she like me? Will she choose me? Because the answer doesn't even matter. You've already chosen yourself. This is what psychologists call outcome independence, the ability to stay steady no matter the result. When you're content with any outcome, you're free. Free from desperation. Free from neediness. Free from the weight of one person's opinion. And freedom is magnetic. So don't just focus on one interaction. Don't obsess over one woman. Build yourself into the kind of man whose life is full, whose energy is scarce, and whose presence carries weight. When you do that, women don't just notice you, they compete for the chance to be part of your world. Let's loop back. Remember how you felt at the beginning? Frustrated, ignored, treated like background noise. That pain was real. But now you know. It wasn't rejection. It was abundance devaluing your worth. Flip the script. Create scarcity. Enforce standards. Respect yourself. And watch indifference turn into attention. Because the real secret isn't tricks or games. The real secret is becoming someone impossible to forget. Thank you for watching. Drop a comment below. What's the biggest struggle you want us to break down next? Let's build a brotherhood of men who rise above confusion and reclaim their power. See you in the next video.